From getting suspended from the PGA Tour to stumbling into controversy after controversy due to his poor choice of words, Phil Mickelson's LIV golf switch hasn't exactly gone smoothly, but that's not enough for him to turn his back on the league. In fact, if anything, he thinks LIV golf is good for the PGA Tour. Yeah, I know, it's one of those classic lefty statements that leave you scratching your head. I mean, the Saudi-funded league is known as the disruptor in the sport, and not in a good way. They've lured top pros away from the PGA Tour by offering hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts. Not to mention, people have accused the league of sports washing for the Saudi government and all that jazz too. The point is that at its surface, LIV seems to be an entity that's only here to divide and destroy the sport, rather than helping anything. And yet, when you actually sit down and think about it, you realize that, yeah, for some bizarre reason, the Saudi league may have actually had some positive impact on the game. Why? Well, I don't have to explain it because Lefty has done exactly that. He was recently asked in a press conference whether the PGA Tour's prize money changes had LIV's fingerprint on it, and without even hesitating, he jumped straight at the answer, saying that, of course, they're literally trying to copy Greg Norman's model. Oh, and again, he's not wrong for a second there. After all, the PGA Tour wouldn't have made the changes without LIV Golf. As a matter of fact, even the tour's own members have been crediting the Saudi League for these changes. Take the elevated events, for example. One of the biggest reasons why players chose to leave the tour for Norman Circuit was that the events just paid better. Seriously, the difference was actually massive, with LIV promising almost double the prize money, which sounds baffling considering how big the PGA Tour is. So, to stop people from defecting and leaving, they had to bump up the purses for some of their bigger events. Also, remember, Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy were the ones to lead this new direction in that meeting with all the top players. I mean, this just shows that the whole thing was driven by the members themselves because they saw their Saudi League counterparts getting paid better. Besides, some of these events have limited fields with no cuts, which, if you roll back to last year, was one of the biggest criticisms of LIV Golf. It's kinda ironic that people like Woods tore them apart for not understanding the spirit of the game, and then coming up with the exact same solution later. Not to mention, even the Player Impact program got a bump just to be a bit more competitive in the space. Like, no matter how hard you try to say that the PGA Tour came up with its original solution and how this was always gonna happen, the truth is that none of this would have happened without Norman's disruption, and Lefty made sure that everyone knew about it because he looked very smug during the press conference. Though, if I'm being honest, I don't blame him one bit. If I were to get shunned and banned by my former employer only for them to do exactly what I'd been saying the whole time, I'd probably react the same way. You know, it's that I told you so feeling. And I'm sure Mickelson's on top of the world ever since Jay Monahan has had to make these changes. I mean, to be fair, he was still pretty classy while talking about the whole thing, saying that he was happy to see the tour finally adapting to its competitive environment. According to him, there will always be a need and want for traditional golf, meaning the tour isn't in any danger of going away or anything like that.
There will always be a need and a want for traditional golf.
But at the same time, there's enough room for innovative new entities like LIV Golf too. Entities that bring new ideas to the table. At the end of the day, all fans and sponsors really care about is seeing top players duke it out on a golf course. So, with the way the game's been evolving, the format kinda becomes secondary. Now, interestingly, Mickelson also mentioned how he's held this stance for the longest time. And if we go back to where the whole controversy started, the prize money situation was one of the biggest reasons for his departure. Oh, and he didn't hold back while bringing that up either. In fact, he made it a point to specifically address all the critics who doubted him. Yeah, he's not letting this one go, is he? But again, as I've already said, I would have done the same thing. And it's not like he's saying something wrong either. He talked about how he was happy with the way LIV has transformed the game, and the fact that other people are now following sorta proves that. Besides, if you go back to the start of 2022, 2022, you'll realize that Lefty was actually right all along. Like, not only did he want better prize pools for golfers, but he also wanted players to have ownership over their media rights. This led to a pretty massive falling out between him and the tour, which of course pushed him toward that LIV Golf move. Obviously, that $200 million contract also helped with the decision making, not to mention the fact that LIV has an incredibly relaxed schedule, and allow stuff like wearing shorts would have definitely been a plus point as well.
I love the feel of wearing shorts. I think that just kind of is, I know, but it's consistent with what LIV Golf is all about. It's updating the professional golf, and I think we're all enjoying the fan-friendly and player-friendly environment.
Now, I get that golf is supposed to be this quote-unquote gentleman's game, where everyone is dressed properly and has proper etiquette and all that. But at the end of the day, it is a sport, right? Like, traditions are important, but things do need to evolve at some point. And perhaps that's the part where the emergence of the Saudi League has helped the most. Though the league's impact hasn't all been positive. I mean, Mickelson himself had to go into hiding to avoid all the controversy. Yeah, to say that the first few months were rough for Lefty would be an understatement. Of course, all the hate he was getting from the media and the fans was bad enough after he became one of the first top pros to leave the PGA Tour. But it was Alan Shipnuck's biography about him that actually broke the camel's back. You see, Mickelson was asked about LIV Golf's association with the Saudi government and all the human rights issues that had been ignored. After all, the league's main source of funding is the country's public investment fund. And well, let's just say that he fumbled the bag on that one. Not only did he go ahead and call the Saudis scary but he also said that he was using LIV to gain leverage over the tour. Now that's a double whammy of a bad statement, and it didn't go down well for him. The whole thing spiraled out of control, and Lefty had to lay low for a couple of months to get the heat off of him. Still, this happened at the start of 2022, and things don't seem as bad right now. So, has LIV Golf actually proven to be good for the PGA Tour? Well, if you look at it from a certain perspective, then sure. I mean, there's no denying the fact that the tour did have to switch up its strategy to remain competitive. Not to mention, the whole saga has been pretty entertaining to witness from the sidelines. Besides, the general rule is that competition is always good when it comes to business. And even if LIV Golf fails to capture a significant audience, it's still done enough to move the needle within golf. Now, of course, this doesn't mean they haven't been damaging to the sport either. Then again, nothing in life is black and white. And that, folks, was all on Phil Mickelson's statement about LIV Golf and how it's good for the tour. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
But again, I love this game of golf. I've seen the good that it's done, and I see the opportunity for LIV Golf to do a lot of good for the game throughout the world, and I'm excited to be a part of this opportunity.